just waiting for something to come through there, and we should be live. Buonasera, everybody, and welcome to Italy for round 2 of the NRL GT Sport season. We are here in Lago Maggiore, still in the same Group 3 cars, and as before, just checking the comms there, and all good on that end. Hopefully you guys can hear me nice and loudly. Good evening, that country, to you as well. Got both cars out on the track, both VCR cars being represented in this quali session. The Wolfie currently leading the way in the Alfa Romeo Home race for this car in particular. Big news for this race, though, that championship leader Attengren will not be joining us for this race. He was unable to be contacted, which means that in his place we have one Mr. X Natty G, who is in a Minion-inspired Mercedes as a tribute to his good friend Attengren. Cars here slowing down in the final sector, trying to steal some of that much needed slipstream for these qualifying laps. Slipstream worth a lot around every track in this game, seemingly. But yeah, so all the cars backing up together. They haven't got anyone who's put in a lap just yet. Wrigley Star, who was involved in that massive battle with the Wolfie at Brands Hatch just a week ago, lost out there, will not want to lose out today. A good chance for him to get onto the podium, especially with the likes of Attengren not being present for this evening's race. In the Toyota Supra, now charging down towards turn number 1, right up behind X Natty G there in the Mercedes. It's all nicely tight and together through turn 2. Go up here to Wolfie, who will just be completing his first sector split in a few corners time. A lot of elevation change around this track. Some places are also fairly hard to manage. 33.0 for Wolfie in the first sector. Let's see what Tiger can do. Was absent last week, but is here this week. As it's actually come up there what this sector split was, which is disappointing from the game. But yeah, we'll keep up here with Wolfie then as he makes his way now through the second sector. Through the S's, he should be flat out in Group 3 all the way if you can get the line absolutely pitch perfect. And up the hill now for the Irishman, it's a 101.6. We'll see if the other lap times come up as well. I think Aston's had a mistake somewhere through sector number 2. He is a long way down, and we do not get the sector splits once again, but Tiger will be getting a beautiful slipstream there from the Aston Martin, who easily gets out of the way there for his fellow British driver. And now downhill and towards the S's, over the curve here, and we want to cut the grass on the next one, try and get the car very nicely set up for this final sector of track, and then braking just after the 50 meter ball down into third gear, and then braking before the curve on the left hand side stops for this next one, and back on the power once again. Tiger Assassin in the Lexus, very balanced car in Group 3, a very solid choice. Rounds the final corner, the point of so much controversy, and to the line finishes. But to the line now for Tiger Assassin. It's going to be provisional pole for the Brits. Yes, it is a 1 minute 55.5. We'll see how the times come down as Colonel Sanders are going to provisional pole, the 1 minute 54.3 on the soft tyres nonetheless. 1.1 seconds clear of his nearest rival. X Natty G now has completed the laps on 2 minutes 10. Bon Evil's come into the pits. It's a very interesting decision from the VCR team. Change tyres when they're not allowed to change the tyre compound in qualifying, but they are allowed to go to a fresh set of the same compound, and that is exactly what Ben has done there. Comes back out onto the track. Dirk as well, a reserve driver for this race, reserving for the E-Brit racing team up there in the Subaru. Teammates may now run round the final corner on an outlap. So Oswaldo Wider Goals come to the line. P6 for Oswaldo Goals so far, 10th of a second behind Dan, and 4 tenths clear of Aston, so splitting the two Drama Alert cars. So Tiger, they're picking up a 5/10 penalty on his most recent lap, so that would be a big hindrance to this lap time. He's got wide as well on the exit of the Big Banked hairpin. So Wiggly Star, very respectable third position at the moment. Tucked in the slipstream of Aston as well now on this most recent lap. the Aston Martin there. Looked like it's struggling with a bit of a understeer imbalance. Wrigley Style also on a set of the soft tyres. Reminder that the drivers have the softs, mediums and the hards available to them for this race weekend. They must use 2 different compounds during the race. In qualifying, the tyre that you start qualifying with, you must complete all of your laps on, and you will also start the race on. So you can go to a fresh set of the same compound of tyre, but you cannot change the compound of tyre in qualifying. As Wrigley Style improves by a 10th, stays in 3rd position and does not improve his place at the moment, with just over 11 minutes left to run in qualifying. Hopefully get some people active in the chat, get some stuff going on there. As the DWTC Vines goes into 9th position there in the BMW, the sister BMW to his teammate Colonel Sanders. Natty with a much more respectable time there, 1 minute 57.5, puts himself in towards the top 5 now with a nice Fernando Alonso team. Tell me they look like in that car. I'm trying to find someone on a lap. Wolfield on that now. Let's see what he can do. Currently finds himself in 4th position. Looks to have some decent pace in the recent practice session before qualifying began. 101.9, so has lost 3/10 through that middle sector. Could we see him come into the pits and onto a fresh set of tyres? Dirk now goes into P5 with a 1 minute 56.9. We'll see what the next car across the line is. Looks like it's going to be Colonel Sanders, but he has slowed down significantly there. Tiger Assassin on an outlap. This is Wrigley Style on a lap. We'll see if this Swede is improving on their lap time. And no, 1.7 seconds down, unfortunately, for the Supra driver. Still Natty chugging around, has not had much practice before this race has begun, so all this practice will be coming in this qualifying session. Goes wide there, but still a 10th up on his time. We need a bit more time than that though to jump Dirk, and picks up a 1 second time penalty. So this could be Natty coming into the pits here also. To wait and see as Wrigley Style does indeed head into the pits now for a new set of the soft tyres. Aston as well follows him in the Drama Alert Aston Martin car. The Scout Dan now goes into P8 with a 1 minute 57.5, and Vines just behind him in reasserting himself, in 9th with a 1 minute 57.8. Got Natty in the pit as well. Fresh set of the medium tyres going on the Mercedes. Comes out just behind Tiger and Bon Evil. Bon Evil, who's just gone into 2nd place, also on a set of the softs. We'll be trying to help their teammate out, as I'm sure with some slipstream, as Tiger continues around on his lap. We'll have to see what the first sector split is as they come up towards the timing beam at the end of this straight. Ben flashing a bit there to warn some of the drivers in front of him. He is coming through. Tiger, not purple, through sector 1, but keeps it all nice and tidy on the exit of the long right hand, and now in towards the S. That's right on board with the Lexus. So braking in 4th gear, down into 3rd and back on the power as soon as you can. Bon Evil has actually gone off there to try and give Tiger a bit more slipstream, perhaps down the next straight. But they're both catching Aston now as he continues on his particular lap. Will Aston jump out of the way? Doesn't look like he is jumping out of the way on the right hand side there. And now look at how much advantage the Tiger has in the slipstream going in towards the big banked hairpin, and just sliding there on the front is the Lexus, and now his teammate will be getting out of the way. Tiger runs it through now. Over the grass, be careful not to put it in the wall on the left hand side. Almost a 10th and a half up on his particular time. We'll need a bit more than that to unseat his teammate at this stage in qualifying. Had a bit too much speed in there, it looked like, and just ran a little bit onto the curb, and it's going to lose you some time. Bon Evil backing off of their particular lap, but now Tiger rounding the final corner. What is it going to be for the Brit in the Lexus? Under the bridge now, it's going to be a 1 minute 55.4, so it does improve, but does not improve position. currently still Colonel Sanders with an 8/10 advantage over Bonnie. Both of those coming on the soft tyres. So good to see we've got a mix-up of the strategy here this evening, it would look like at least. And Wolfie's still chucking his way now around the track. So 1 second down on his best lap time so far. As he now making his way through sector, he's 1,000 down his time, but got a lot of understeer. You saw there mid-corner just sliding the front of the car through and missing the apex by a mile really. Tiger gets out of the way on the left-hand side, or driver's left-hand side of Natty, as he now makes his way through the S's. We'll see what he can do at the next sector split. Beasley's on the grass and managed to keep that wall, but he's on the grass again. That's going to be a bit of a disaster for Aston behind him. And Natty's in the wall with damage there on the exit of the S's, and now Vine's going through as well. But Natty managed to keep it out of increased trouble there. That was a bit of a disaster there for the Brit in the Mercedes. Obviously was commentating with me last week. Finds himself on the track for this week's race. Here on Tiger Assassin, we'll see what kind of lap time he's doing. 12.2 seconds down on this particular lap time. Around the final one, we'll wait and see if Tiger does decide to dive into the pits. Looks like he's committing to the pit lane. Indeed he is. So Tiger will head into the pit lane and the car behind them will follow as well. So for the meanwhile then, we're going to go for an audio up lap with Wiggly Style in the Supra. Whatever you're listening to, if you're listening on speakers, if you're listening on your headphones, turn it up because we're going to go for a lap around Lago Maggiore with Wiggly Style. As it turns out, I'm going for an audio up lap with Will because he has backed off his lap, so we'll continue on then with Bonnie Evil. And they're finishing up the lap and coming into the pit lane. Dirk has changed tyres. There will be a penalty coming the way of Dirk if he has indeed changed tyres in this qualifying session. A reminder for the drivers and for the viewers who are just joining us. The drivers, whatever tyre they start qualifying on, they must complete the duration of qualifying on that tyre and then start the race on the same compound. You are permitted to pit for a fresh set of the same compound of tyre, but you cannot pit for a different compound. So if I were to start this session on the mediums, I would have to use the mediums all the way through the session, and I can change to a fresh set of mediums but cannot go to the softs, for example. right now, still no one really able to unseat Colonel Sanders at the top of the timing sheet. So just over 2.5 minutes left to run in this session. We're keeping you updated with Tiger Assassin's latest lap as he's running around here at a rate of knots in the left. Gets a bit of air there over the front through the S's, and now coming towards the main straight. Going to have a little bit of a slipstream here as well from Dan in the Porsche. It's 200s down on his time now is Tiger Assassin. As I look at how much elevation change there is now around this track, braking in towards the big banked hairpin. Gets on the power nice and early, keeps it out of the gravel on the driver's left hand side. Right hand side of vast screens as we're looking at it. Big thank you to all 7 of you who are currently tuned in and watching Tiger go 2 tenths up. This particular lap time, this could put him onto the front row and unseat his BCR teammate, Bon Evil, and on the compound harder tyre as well. So Tiger now coming towards the last corner of the track. Braking now into third gear. We'll have a beautiful slipstream and a great run off the final corner from Dan in front of him. And now to the line. What's going to be for Tiger? It's a 1 minute 55.1. He goes onto the front row of the grid, but over a second still behind Colonel Sanders. So Colonel now coming to the final corner. Does he complete this lap? Have to wait and see. It's going to complete the lap then. So, can Colonel Sanders improve on their previous lap time? Doesn't look like it. No, 5 tenths down for the Brit. I think that would be their particular qualifying session over. I think Tiger as well will be slowing down, will be trying to give his teammate some slipstream time, pay back the favour as Bonnie now starts their final flying lap in this session. Only 22 seconds left on the clock as that Ted in front goes wide. That could hold up Bon Evil a lot now through this section of track. Let's wait and see if it's affected their lap time. Picks up that slipstream though from Tiger in front as well, but Tiger moving a bit too slowly there really, as Bonnie's going to have to go to the inside and has missed the apex, and that will have cost Bonnie a lot of time now there through that sector of track. So a bit of a botched communication perhaps between the BCR teammates there. 11 people watching. Big thank you to everyone who is tuning in. So Colonel Sanders now does have damage, so will not be improving at that particular time, but I think Tiger now going to bump draft his teammate down the back straight. We'll see what Bonnie Evil can do. Wiggly Style as well, then can out Wiggly Style in 4th position at the moment on the second row of the grid. Really is not over yet for the Swede in the slipstream of both of the cars in front of him as well. Bon Evil now coming up to end sector 3, 3 tenths down. Wiggly Star, we didn't get to see their particular sector split. Aston now goes into P8 in the Aston Martin with 57.0. Now Bon Evil will need an absolutely magical final sector. Also Lago goes into P6 now as well. So need the magical final sector from Bonnie to try and get onto the front row of this grid. Can he do it? Can he possibly beat Colonel Sanders here and take pole position? No, just over a tenth down, but Wiggly Style out of nowhere onto the front row of the grid with a 1 minute 54.9. Only other car in the 1 minute 54s can be very, very proud of that lap time indeed. And just like that, qualifying is over. Colonel Sanders leads the way then. It'll be Wiggly Style alongside him on the front row. Ah yes, Aston Gren is not here for this one. Unfortunately, I'm going to be going for 50 minutes of action here in the, well, around Lago Maggiore, in the Swiss canton of, the Italian canton of Switzerland, even, technically speaking. Asengren is not here. He wasn't able to be contacted, but the drivers on the grid will not care about that. They're going to go to 5 red lights. When they go out, we're going to be racing in Italy, and it's lights out and they're off, and it's a good start from the front row for both drivers. But look at Natty now looking at the inside, got the car spinning in the background. I believe that was Colonel Sanders' teammate, and Natty on the inside. They're going 4 wide into turn 1. Tiger Assassin around the outside. He's not going to have the inside for the next corner. Can he push Colonel Sanders out to the edge of the track, but gets a swapper on the exit, and now Bonill's going to try and follow Colonel through on the inside, and Colonel Sanders maintains the lead. Natty up into 4th, Wiggly Style down to 5th off the start as they head through now the latter stages of the first sector. Bonnie will get a run on the BMW in front of them now going in towards the next corner. Can he make a move on the inside? No, sits back in the slipstream for the moment, but has a very, very late look there going into the off-camber right-hander. A beautiful shot here of the cars making their way through the S. It's Colonel Sanders and still leads this race, but by only 4/10 of a second, heading into what is probably the main overtaking point on the track. Can Bonnie set themselves up through the S to get a good run off the last one with a good launch and slipstream the Mercedes now down towards the banked hairpin, the gap closing all the time. The Corvette has had very good straight line speed as well. Colonel Sanders goes defensive. Bonnie's have to go to the outside here to get around, and he's going to swoop around the outside. What a move from Bonnie to take the lead of the race on lap 1, and it's game on from the off here. So cars now make their way through sector 3. Next Natty G as well, really tucked up behind the gearbox of the lefts in front of him on the medium compound of tyre as well. And do not forget that Colonel Sanders and Bonnie will both starting this race on a set of the soft tyres. Expect them to pull away from Tiger, from Natty behind them, as Colonel's having a look to the outside into the final corners. Has to set him up here though. He's all over the back of the Corvette. How defensive will Bonnie go to get the chance to, because Colonel's already there on the inside going in towards 10 number 1. They're door to door once again. Can Bonnie hold this around the outside? Uses a superior straight line speed, but Colonel's on the inside. He's forcing the issue and gets the big done, but Bonnie's now sending it back up the inside through turn 2. It's going to give Tiger a chance as well. They're going to go 3 wide into turn 3, but Colonel's on the inside. Can Bonnie keep this around the outside? The answer is yes, he can, but now Colonel around the outside of the next corner, and it's just blow for blow here. These two heavyweight boxers slugging it out on lap 2 of this race already, as Colonel goes very defensive now into the next corner. Bonnie's going to try and swoop round the outside just like he did on lap number 1. Carries so much speed through the corner, but has he gone wide? He has gone wide. He's in the grass, and he's now dropped behind his teammate and behind Natty, and potentially behind Wiggly Style as well. Natty gets to move back onto the podium here, and it's the British 1, 2, 3, 4 all of a sudden. But now it will be Tiger's turn to have a go at the BMW in front of him if he can make it work on those medium compound tyres. Do not forget that Tiger on the mediums going longer into this race than the cars ahead of him. If he can sit in the slipstream, if he can stay with Colonel Sanders for this opening stint, it could really come back to favour him later on in this race. Yeah, now Tiger Assassin all over the back of Colonel Sanders, so you're not letting him breathe at all. He's purple through sector 3 as well, showing how much he is pushing here, as Bonnie just needs to regroup, get back past Natty and try and challenge the front 2 once again. 3/10 of a second now, 4/10. Colonel had a very good exit off of that corner, but now heading in towards the final corner and down the main straight. They'll flash in front of the commentary box. So this is on the front straight as Natty's off at the final corner. That allows Bonnie back through. So Bonnie back into this race. Now Wiggly Style on the inside of the ailing Brit going into turn number 1. Tries to move over back to the racing line, but Natty is still there on the outside line. Can he make this work? Yes, he can. Turns to the inside for the next corner, but Wiggly just with more momentum and more speed around the outside manages to keep it, and Natty getting all kinds of out of shape. That could leave him vulnerable now to Wolfie and the Alfa Romeo behind him, and we've definitely got about 2 different packs here, because from Wolfie back to Aston, the gap's about 5.8 seconds, and Bynes and Dan going wheel to wheel, and Dan's not having any of that whatsoever. Going to try and sweep around the outside now, but Ted, after having a poor lap 1, is now snapping at the heel, of Dan going into the next corner, and it looks like they're about to go 3 wide there, possibly into the next corner, as Dirk slows down to serve a penalty. But now Dan and Vines wheel to wheel. It looked like Vines was about to have a bit of a spin there. Ted ducks back in to the slipstream. Dirk having a very late on look into the next corner, but back up here to the front. The gap out in front has widened now to about 0.6 of a second. Colonel was less than a tenth quicker than Tiger on the last lap, and that will be encouraging for the BCR team because they are on a different strategy with Tiger to Colonel Sanders, and indeed we could actually see some team orders between Tiger and Bonnie. They are on different tyres, they are on different strategies, and they have to see what will work out best for the team here. But meanwhile, the battle for 7th still raging on as well. See all the cars streaming through there, 7th down to 12th, and largest gap between the cars is just over a second, so it goes to show how competitive this league is here. Looking at Dirk now, it's sat there in last place. The gap, and you just get the feeling that Colonel Sanders is just managing that gap back now to Tiger, as Bonnie actually responds to the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 54.7, so these guys absolutely nose to tail at the moment here. So just over 7 minutes gone in, under 7 minutes gone, sorry, in this race. Colonel Sanders gets sort of out of shape there on the exit, and look at how close Bonnie now is to his teammate. But we see some team orders down there at the PCR pit, on the PCR pit wall. So I do agree, from another fantastic start from all of these guys here. So now through the S's once again. Going into the hairpin. Is anyone close enough to make a move? It does not look like it at the moment. Indeed, back here down at the back, we've got Ted and Dirk, who look like they may have had a coming together. They are very far behind now. That's Aston going very defensive, and it's Osweiler goals forcing the issue now, going into the hairpin, and Dan as well looking hungry on the back of Osweiler goals. Osweiler goals sends it down the inside of Aston and gets the move done. That's going to allow Dan through on his teammate as well, and now Dan will be challenging the BMW going into the next corner. There's no room there on the inside, and that was nearly very, very ugly between those two drivers as they crest the hill once again. They're going into sector 4. Nothing that Dan can do through here. It's very, very difficult to overtake through this section of the track. The top 4 now so close together once again, and Tiger now very, very close to the back of Colonel Sanders, and he's going down the inside, is he? Or at least we thought he was for a second. They had a look at going into turn number 1, but backs out of it at the last second. As I'm just going to reset the camera very quick, so I'll actually change the camera. There we go. And yeah, so that should be all good. It's now going to change the view of the drivers. Oh, and Colonel Sanders has lost it! Colonel Sanders has lost it. He's in the wall, and rear bumper damage and rear suspension damage to the leader of this race. And just like that, Colonel Sanders' efforts come undone. He now falls to 6th position, has to come back into the pits to repair the damage. And crazy scenes here on lap 5 of the Lago Maggiore race here in the NRL GT Sport Championship. The second place man in the championship looks a shoe-in for the win here today, has just crashed out on lap number 5. There's Osweiler goals, and Dan now taking it wheel to wheel there through the S's. I need to charge my controller. So now look at Osweiler goals trying to get past both of the Drama Alert cars. Going now in towards the next one. They're going to go 3 wide up. Hey, Osweiler goals with a double overtake on both of the blue Drama Alert cars. That was incredible driving there from him. But yeah, it just looked like for Colonel Sanders, they just got onto the exit of the curb, the boundary between the curb and the grass, and then just lost the car completely. And look at how much they are struggling now with that rear bumper and suspension damage on the right-hand side of that BMW, as does manage to bring it back into the pits. Now that will be gut-wrenching for the entire team down there. So Natty now sliding it through turn 1 in his pursuit of Wolfie, and they're back for P4. But right now it's a dream situation for the BCR esports team. They currently lead first and second here in Lago Maggiore, with Wiggly Star just about hanging on to their coattails in third. But Tiger can just sit here now and manage the race, manage his pace, and manage those, importantly, those tyres. Has got much better tyre wear than the cars around him, both Bonnie and Wiggly Style on a set of the soft compound of tyre. A reminder that drivers must use 2 different compounds of tyre in this race, as Wider Goals now becomes the next casualty of turn 6, I believe that is. And I think Wider Goals may have retired from the session after that, and has retired from the race. So Wider Goals retires from this race. And that is very, very big in terms of the championship for the Union Esports guys. Natty currently substituting for his teammate Tim. A reminder that only the top 8 drivers in this race will score points. So right now, Colonel Sanders still finds himself out there in a points-paying position. But still a very long way to go in this race. If all those tyres go to the end, we'll have to wait and see. It would be a very, very tough job for those mediums to get to the end of the race from here. Perhaps maybe should have elected to go for a hard compound of tyre. So Ted now through the S is very much by himself back up here. The race out in front. So Bonnie has also used a lot more fuel than Tiger. Not necessarily a bad thing in this league, of course. No major fuel consumption worries for the race. The most important thing here is to look after your tyres. As Natty now having a look at Wolfie going into turn 1, but makes nothing of it on this occasion. The 2 Drama Alert cars now. We'll have to see how nicely they play with each other, both in the points with a big gap surrounding them. Do they manage this? Do they try and go for it? Because Colonel Sanders, you can see in the background there, is closing all the time on these 2. Last up he was almost 4 seconds quicker than Aston. So now through turn number 4 comes the Brit in the BMW. Nothing doing it on this occasion, but now the front 2 separated by just 0.3 of a second. You get the feeling that Bonnie might be coming into the pit soon. Look at how worn those soft tyres are, even compared now to Wiggly Style, as Bonnie gaining on Tiger Assassin all the time in this slip. Does it go to the inside here? No. Just managing that gap out in front, these 2, it looks like at the moment. Big thank you to all 10 of you currently tuning in to round 2 of the NRL GT Sport Racing League, brought to you by Teradata for all of your computer security needs, as well as Forget Me Not for all of your card requirements and celebration requirements for whatever you may need those for. So BCR now leading at 1 and 2. Through the final corner to start lap number 8 here. With about 35 minutes left on the clock, and Wiggly Style pulling it into the pit lane. So Wiggly Style pulls the pin on the strategy. He will pit now. We'll have to wait and see what tyres he chooses to go on to. It's been about 14 minutes on a set of the soft tyres. So you'd have thought that mediums probably won't go to the end from here, and does go to the set of the medium tyres, but comes out ahead, it looks like, of Aston and Dan. But Colonel Sanders has closed that gap down about 4 seconds. The gap is now 0.8 of a second. He's really closing on these 2 very, very quickly. Needs to clear them both as soon as possible, to stay in the fight for this race. But Aston's gone deep. That's allowed Dan through. That's going to allow Colonel Sanders to go onto the outside line. Can he sweep round the outside of Dan? He's going to try it, round the outside. And he's going round the outside of both of them. What a move from the second place man in the championship up into 6th place in this race, and frankly really making the Drama Alert boys looking a bit silly there, or look a bit silly even. Gets past both of them now, has a 10.4 second gap to close though to Wiggly Style, but will be doing his level best to get back into this race. It's not over yet for Colonel Sanders. We'll have to wait and see now, and indeed, yes, the BCR cards have inverted, so Bonnie now will have his chance out in front to go and build the gap as much as he can. I think mainly to try and cover Wiggly Style, but Bonnie's onto the grass, and that could really hinder BCR's efforts here of retaining this 1-2 with 34 minutes left to run in this session. Now the front tyres on the Corvette look like they're really complaining there as through the final corner they come now. Will Bonnie dive into the pit lane? Indeed they do. So Bonnie into the pits. This should be for a set of the medium compound tyres. We'll have to see where Wiggly Style is now. Currently in 5th and coming around the final corner. Bonnie still in the pits. I think Wiggly could actually jump Bonnie by a while here. Bonnie still hasn't been served. Wiggly goes through down the main straight. Bonnie just leaving the pits now. It's going to be very close. These are going into turn 1. Wiggly on the outside, Bonnie on the inside, and Bonnie just about, by the skin of their teeth, keeps it in front of the Supra. Wow, that was a very tense there between those two. Natty now picking up a 6th, 10th penalty for exceeding track limits. Has dropped a long way behind Wolfie, but Tiger now leads this race on a set of the mediums. We'll have to see if he decides to go for a 1-stop perhaps, or goes for the traditional 2. Yeah, with just over 17 minutes done in this race, looking very good for the BCR boys at the moment. Yeah, Colonel Sanders closing that gap by another second there to Wiggly Style in front of him. Last lap was a 56.8 for him, and for Wiggly 1 minute 56.6. So Wiggly actually responding on that most recent lap. The gap though still coming down to about 8.3 seconds. But that may have been influenced by Wiggly going off track at turn number 1. Is that Bonnie just scraping the wall there? That looked very close indeed between that car and the barrier. And making their way through the final sector of the track. As Natty then comes into the pits, the first driver who started on the mediums to come into the pit lane. We'll wait and see how long it takes for the car to appear. There he is. I assume we'll go on to another set of the mediums. It is a set of the soft tyres for ex-Natty G. That's going to try and go 15 and 15 perhaps on that set of softs with less fuel in the car. And that gap between Wiggly and the Colonel has really sort of plateaued over the last couple of laps. Not really growing or shrinking. It's hovering around 8.8 to 9.2 seconds as Wiggly starts improving all the time and has the benefit of the slipstream from Bonneville in front of the Supra. But both these guys now really closing on Tiger Assassin. The gap coming down all the time. Was 14 seconds a couple of laps ago. It is now 12 seconds. So Tiger could be in trouble here when he goes onto a set of the soft tyres to try and chase down these two at the end of the race. But currently still leads by a very handsome margin indeed. The two Drama Alert cars still nose tail are on track, and Vines closing in the other BMW as well. Gets very out of shape through the S's there for a split second, but in the grass again, but no major drama there for the red car. It's Aston making the move on Dan going into the big banked hairpin. They're going to go door to door now, out of the corner. Aston looked like he was going to go over and cover his teammate and then take them both out of the race, but no damage done there. Dan backs out, trying to get a better run now through the next mini straight and into the next complex of corners. Tiger and Wolfie both into the pits. Colonel Sanders comes around the final corner, and I think, Bonnie and Wiggly Star are going to go through here and have a massive lead. Tiger out of the pits now, 4 seconds behind Wiggly Style. So the overcut here really proving to Tiger's detriment. 3.5 seconds behind, and Colonel Sanders now have a much closer target in Tiger, but Tiger have a lot of work to do now on those soft tyres to chase down that gap. We saw how hard it was for Colonel Sanders on those medium tyres. Let's see if Tiger can make it any easier for himself. So through the middle part of the lap. Bonnie Evil now pulling away from Wiggly Style a little bit. Tiger Assassin though really got the bit between his teeth. That gap down from 3.5 to 2 seconds in less than a lap. Tiger really going for it here on lap 11. 29 minutes left to run in this race. Can see a couple of quick overtakes here as well on board now with the Lexus to make our way out of the hairpin through the next sector, as Ted has disconnected from the race as well. It takes us down to 10 drivers. Reminder that only the top 8 of drivers score points in this race. 13 for first, and then 10 for second, 8 for third, and then down until we get to number 1 for 8th. And the gap now down to 1.3 seconds. Tiger really pushing on here in this race. It's now under a second, so in one lap, Tiger gets that gap down from 3.5 to 1 second. He's going absolute great guns out here at the moment. Really using up that tyre. He's already in a position to start challenging Wiggly Star. I assume that he'll get a bit of a wave through from Bonnie once he gets past the Supra. But I think that's very much easier said than done for Wiggly Star's particular evening. He needs to hold up Tiger for as long as possible. He needs to defend like a lion. But now going into the next corner, Tiger has the inside line. How hard does Wiggly defend from this? How hard can he defend from this? Tiger up the inside now and gets past the Supra. Let's have to see how accommodating to his teammate Bonnie becomes. Now down the back straight in the slipstream of the car in front, back to the fastest lap of the race as well, possibly here, as Tiger to the inside goes past Bonnie. That did look very orchestrated indeed, but Tiger now into the lead of this race, and he will be trying to disappear and run off into the distance with this one, I'm sure, as Dan and Aston still battling it out on the track, going side by side, going in towards the S's. These are for the final points paying position, so they really don't want to have an incident here, as it's already put Vines onto the back of Aston now. And they exit the final 2 corners and onto the back straight, and Vines looking all sorts of hungry on the back of Aston. They're going to go door to door into the next corner. But the Aston Martin just has the legs in a straight line, but Vines on the brakes, going to try and send up the inside of Aston. He gets there, he gets alongside. Aston gives him the room on the exit. And now Aston in towards the next corner, but Vines still has it around the outside, then to the inside for the next corner. Can he make it stick? Yes, he can, just about, and knocks Aston now out of the points. There are also 2 points available for pole position, so those will be going the way of Colonel Sanders no matter what happens in this session, as well as a point for fastest lap, which at the moment will go to Tiger Assassin. remains there in 8th position, trying to chase down and overtake the Scout Dan in the Porsche or German manufacturer battle here for the last points paying position. So Aston there really looks like he's struggling on those mediums, has lost a lot of ground now to Vines and to his teammate just in that straight alone. So the gap out in front going up to 2.2 seconds. Tiger really romping away with this one. 1 minute 54.3, fastest lap of the race on the most recent lap. It's going to leave Bonnie and Wiggly Star to battle it out now for the final 2 steps on the podium. Wolfie a long way back behind, will have to go absolute great guns from here on in to get back onto the podium as he did last week. But Colonel Sanders now closing in at a rate of knots on both of these guys. 2.3 seconds only separates him and ex-Natty G. So around the final corner, Colonel Sanders comes now and towards the line. We'll check what the lap times are. So 57.7 to 55.7 for Natty, however. So Colonel Sanders really losing a lot of time now on those worn mediums, especially compared to the cars around him on more or less fresh softs. Should still be very good points indeed for the Forget-Me-Not team. Both of which in Alpha Romeos, but Tech unfortunately not electing to complete the race. As Wiggly Star still just tantalisingly close to the back of Bonnie, but just not able to make a move at this point in time. I think that Corvette has a bit too much run for the Supra to get up alongside and get past into the next corner. All the time gaining in the slipstream, but nothing that Wiggly can do at this stage. Towards the next corner here, Wiggly all over the back of Bonnie. Towards the final corner they come now. 22 minutes left on the clock here in this race. Exactly 0.2 of a second. Does Wiggly go for a move here on Bonneville into turn number 1? Easily close enough to have a go at the Corvette. Does he try and dive up the inside? Going to have a look to the inside, but Bonnie is very, very late on the brakes and nothing that Wiggly can do from that distance. Colonel Sanders comes into the pits actually, so Colonel Sanders pits. You have to wait and see what tyres they go on, so it's going to be very difficult to get to the end of the race on anything from here, one would have thought. I would expect perhaps this to be a set of the softs and go for another set of softs later on in the race. It is for another set of the medium compound tyres, so maybe Colonel Sanders thinks that they can actually get to the end on a set of the medium tyres. It will be the longest stint on mediums that we've seen in this race thus far. But we'll wait and see how it pans out for the Brit. Now Wiggly Style and the slipstream of Bonneville. Very, very close. Again, has got a very good exit as well. Has Wiggly Star. This is the closest that he's been over the last couple of laps. Has a look to the inside now. Drag race with the Corvette into turn number 1. Who gets it? Bonnie lays it on the brakes and swoops back around the outside of Wiggly Star. Nothing that the Swede could do there. Looking back down here, the board's about for 7th position. Vines getting past Dan. Dirk has also retired from the race. So only 9 drivers left with us at the moment, but Dan is all over the back of Vines, having a look now into the final corner. He is also very, very close. Can he mimic what Wiggly Star did to Bonnie, but actually pull the move off? And he's very, very close. And Vines also had a bad exit off the final corner, now going down into turn number 1. Is Dan close enough to have a go, to have a look to the inside later on the brakes? And the Scout Dan makes the move, but does he? Because Vines is still there on the outside, turns to the inside now for the next corner. Dan gonna try and sweep it around the outside, but gets the up and under on the BMW and does manage to keep the position. Does Vines. Mega stuff there from those 2 drivers, but it's still not over because Dan back into the slipstream now, going down towards the next corner. Can he make a move on the inside, perhaps going up here? Just a little bit too far behind on this occasion, but trying to get a better exit now than his BMW compatriot. Having a look up the inside, gets a bump from behind, does Vines. And now through the final parts of the... Oh, Dan diving it to the inside, but no space there. And nowhere to go, going to try and take it to the outside line now. Braking just after the 50-meter board, trying to get the switch back on the BMW, but they're both off and into the gravel. And could that give Aston a chance now back into this battle? The gap coming down all the time now, to under 1 second between these guys. Dan now dropping back actually from Vines, so those tyres perhaps going off on the Porsche, but Vines also has a bad exit that could give Dan all the incentive he needs to try and get past now. We've got just over 17 minutes left to run in this session. Dan probably a bit too far back to have a go into turn 1 on this occasion. Indeed he is. And back up here to Colonel Sanderps, who finds himself now 15.9 seconds behind Natty, but Natty and Wolfie, in fact all the cars in front of Colonel Sanderps, with another stop to do. So Colonel on 3 lap old mediums, they're just doing the very, very quick maths. So we'll have to wait and see if he can get to the end of the race on these tyres. As Wiggly now and Bonnie starts to get a bit frosty in the battle for P2 in the race and on the track. Again, the front tyres on the Corvette really going off quite quickly here. We're really struggling to hold up Wiggly. The Corvette is lighter though, and that might be helping it down the straights. And all the time, Wolfie actually is closing on both of these guys. That gap now down to 1.1 seconds. I said that Wolfie would have to go great guns to try and close this gap back up, and he has done exactly that. The gap now 0.8 of a second, and Wolfie out of nowhere could really be on for a podium here once again. 2 races from 2, or 2 podiums from 2 races, as it's a slipstream now for Wiggly Star down the straight. Bonnie tries to cover him and go defensive, squeezes Wiggly to the wall. Wiggly says, I will absolutely be not having that, and goes down the inside, but Bonnie once again later on the brakes gets around the outside and keeps the position. But now look at Wolfie on the back of the Supra. Can he make a move in towards turn number 3, but nothing doing there at the moment. Dive to the inside perhaps? No, not at this point in time. But now on the exit of the corner, Wolfie has got the inside line, but has not got the overspeed that Wiggly Star had a better exit from on the last corner. And going into the banked right-hander. Again, Wolfie getting a very, very good exit here, despite being on warm softs. Still much better than the mediums that the 2 cars in front of him find themselves on. As a Natty to come into the pits then, that is for a set of the sods, and has come out just behind Colonel Sanders, who is on a set of the medium compound tyre. Those mediums have gone a long way in this race, but now Wiggly trying to get past Bonnie Evil once again here, going into the next corner. Can Bonnie go defensive? Yes, he can. It's going to be an outside move at the hairpin for Wiggly if he wants second place at this point in the race, but Bonnie has got the momentum on the inside, and Wolfie now is going to be very vulnerable too, and these two battle in Brands Hatch. They're battling once again, and Lago Maggiore, there's big contact between the two, but no damage done, and now Wolfie all over the back of Bonnie Evil, going to have a move here in towards sector 3 and sector 4. Doesn't go for a move just yet, but Bonnie's a bit wide, fishtails on the exit as well. Is Wolfie going to have a go here? Yes, he is. Oh, I thought he was going to have a go down the inside. Wisely backs out of that one. I was only ever going to end in an incident, but these three now so close together out here on the track, but Tiger's absolutely disappeared. They're not even on the same straight as the race leader at the moment, as around the final corner they come, and Bonnie goes into the pits, and Wolfie and Wiggly Star go with him. So Bonnie, Wiggly Star and Wolfie all into the pit lane at the same time. Let's see which one comes out first. It is a set of the softs for all three of them. This just got very, very interesting indeed here. The battle for second, third and fourth, well, fifth and sixth now, with Colonel Sanders and Natty closing onto the back of this gap. Battle will really hot up in the last 14 minutes of this. As I just realized that my mic was on mute this entire time, so that's not great. But now Bonnie and Wolfie really close together here out on the racetrack. Lap 20 with just over 11 minutes left to run, and that's Natty wide again. Natty wide again now and off the track. That's going to give Colonel a very, very good chance to get past him now, despite being on those worn mediums. They have these two, that's second, third and fourth, absolutely nose to tail in this race so far. They make their way through the S's now for the 20th time in this race. Still about 5-6 laps left to run. There's now Wolfie all over the back of Bonnie. He must be thinking about it going in towards the hairpin. Gaining all the time in the slipstream as you have a look to the inside. Actually chooses not to, chooses to bump draft Bonnie. So I think we are seeing here Wolfie being a bit more patient than the cars around him. Going back down here now to Dan and to Vines. Aston has now broken clear of these two by a little bit. Bonnie now trying to pull out a gap from Wolfie, but Wolfie's got a good exit off of this corner. And towards now the final corner of the lap. It's going to be a move in turn 1 if Wolfie can set the move up on the exit here, but has gone wide in the dirt. Yeah, that could give Wiggly Style a chance now into turn number 1. Does Wolfie have to go defensive here? Look, not on his cage, but Colonel Sandup's now very close behind Natty. Natty just fakes the inside a little bit, but nothing doing there. Colonel flashes the lights and nearly hits the back of Natty. And Wiggly's had an incident, and Wiggly's off. I'm not too sure what's happened to Wiggly there, but he has gone off the track. He now falls back behind these two. And is that Bonnie Evil going slowly? It is Bonnie Evil going slowly. Bonnie Evil with engine damage and front bumper damage somewhere in there. And all of a sudden this race has turned on its head completely once again. Wolfie now goes up into second. He has got no damage. I can't select Wiggly Star for some reason. And Bonnie's off the track again. And we will save the race replay and get this out on our socials as soon as possible. But that's very, very surprising. It looked like those guys were all good. And now Bonnie finds himself down in 6th position. Natty back on the podium. It could be Colonel Sandup's on the podium once again. As Wiggly Star does also have damage. Wiggly Star with rear bumper and rear left suspension damage. As Colonel Sandup there does drag race Natty now going into the walls, the banked hairpin, and does go through. And I'm absolutely speechless. This race has been turned on its head completely. It's now Colonel and Natty find themselves battling for the lead of the race, for second place in this race. Although over 20 seconds behind Tiger. Now just over 8 minutes left to run. It's going to be a heroic effort from Wiggly or Bonnie to try and salvage something from this race. You can see how slow Bonnie is being forced to go with that engine damage. But now Natty looking at the back of Colonel Sando. He doesn't want to give up this podium in his first NRL GT Sport race for the substituting here for Antongren. He really does not want to give this up. Having a look at the outside, but nothing doing there. As Natty actually also has damage. So Natty with front bumper damage as well. Did he get that from hitting Colonel Sandurps perhaps? Wiggly Style has stayed out with his particular damage. Bonnie has been forced to come into the pit. It's going to be for the soft tyres, I'm sure. As Bonnie was saying, got hit in the chat. That's a big shame for them. But now, with a fresh set of softs, with only 7 minutes left to go on the clock, this should be a pretty quick Corvette. We'll see how much time Ben can gain over the last 7 minutes in this race. Now next, Natty G and Colonel Sanders absolutely nose to tail once again. Natty though with that front bumper damage doesn't look like it's affecting him too badly. Natty's going to have a look now at the inside. Colonel tries to go defensive, but Natty is already there. Has to tuck back into the slipstream though. How hard does Colonel fight? He does have a championship to think about, but Natty on the inside going into the hairpin tries to make the move work. Colonel recognizes that he's there, gives him the space and gives him enough respect, but now we'll have the slipstream going into the next corner, but nothing doing around the outside into this part of the track. And all this is doing is giving Wiggly Star the chance to get back onto the podium once again. There's 6 minutes and 50 seconds left in this lobby. Tiger Assassin leads by about 17 seconds out there in front, but Colonel Sanders trying to dive it down the inside of Natty. That's going to leave him vulnerable to Wiggly Style as well behind, as Colonel almost gets pushed out onto the grass, but he's now right up behind and pushing ex-Natty G through the final corner. And how defensive does Natty go? Natty does go for the defensive line. Colonel is going to switch it now to the outside, going into turn number 1. Can he make this work around the outside? Is ahead, under braking, looked like he stood a bit there. Natty on the inside cuts the corner as well. That could be a penalty for the British man in the Mercedes. It's still going to be door to door though on the exit of turn 2 into turn 3. Colonel can't sweep round the outside. Natty holds the high ground and holds the position as well. Now Colonel Sanders really tucks into the slipstream, ducks out to the inside at the last possible moment, late on the brakes for the BMW driver, and positions his car beautifully to keep the position. But now Natty's not giving this up. He's got a better run on the X. It's going to be an outside move into the S's for Natty G. If this works, it would be amazing. And you know what? It has worked. Natty back up into third. An amazing move there from him. Great stuff there from Natty in the Mercedes. 5 minutes left to go in this race, and it has just absolutely exploded with drama, with tension, with battles. As now Colonel back on the inside. Natty squeezing him right up to the barrier, but Colonel does manage to go through. Natty's going to try and swoop it now round the outside, gets the up and under on his BMW rival, but Colonel gets loose on the exit as well. That's going to give Natty a chance. Can he do what Colonel didn't? No, he can't. He tucks back into the slipstream once again, and Wiggly style, just with that damage at the rear, looks like he's struggling a lot to try and keep up with the two in front. Natty's going to duck out late to the inside, though. This battle for the podium still isn't over between these two great drivers in this race. There's still wheel to wheel, and now Colonel gets shoved off the track this time, but Natty on the outside line into the final corner. This could be to his detriment, because look at where Wiggly style is as well behind these two. Colonel on the inside dictates the line. Natty on the outside is going to allow Wiggly style through now as well. They're going to go 3 wide into turn 1. Natty in the slipstream. Wiggly style on the inside of him. Does Wiggly go for a send here on the brakes? Natty's later though, and he's going to try and drive around the outside, turns to the inside for turn 2. Natty somehow keeps a hold of P4, or does he? Because Wiggly style on the exit of the corner is going to have to, just ducks back in. Then Natty had the better momentum coming off the corner. I think they've got about 1 or 2 laps, 2 or 3 laps, left to run in this race. Is now in the slipstream here is Natty going into the next corner. Let's have a look to the inside. Let's have a look to the inside. Here goes Natty G down the inside of Colonel Sanders. It's going to be a very good move. You can make it. So they're going 3 wide, and the Super on the outside. They're going 3 wide into the S's. Oh, this can't work. This can't work going into the S's. Someone has to back out here. They're still 3 wide, and Wiggly style with a damaged car around the outside, but he gets loose. He almost loses it, and now they're still door to door through the S's. They're going to go 3 wide again. These guys are absolutely giving it everything here, with 3.5 minutes left to run in this session. Now down the back straight in towards the hairpin. Great action here in the Lago Maggiore Grand Prix, and now Wiggly style goes super defensive, and now Natty up the inside. Can Natty get through? Natty does get through, because Wiggly style goes right and gets hit from Colonel Sanders as well, and Wiggly drops back down from 3rd to 5th, but Colonel still wants that podium. Natty wants that podium, and guess what? Wiggly wants it as well, but only one of them can have it. 2 minutes left to go in the race. What an absolutely amazing conclusion we're having to this race. A bit of a slow burner, but it's all exploding now. Different strategies for all of these cars, different levels of damage even for all of these cars. They're all still giving it absolutely everything. Colonel Sanders on the outside line, nothing that he'll be able to do from that point, but now Wiggly style will pick up the slipstream, but Colonel blocks him off and really has to go to the outside now, and Colonel switching it to the outside, and it's swapping and changing all the time like watching a go-kart race. Colonel around the outside now. Does Natty hold his ground? He can't on this occasion. Natty has to yield here, or does he? He's still got the drive around the outside. They're still going absolutely at it, door to door into the next corner. Colonel round the outside, but can't swoop through. Just about. Natty is able to fend them off going into the next right-hander, as now Wiggly style as well in the slipstream, the double slipstream. Colonel's gone to the inside line. Is Wiggly going to try this again around the outside? They're going 3 wide again into the right-hander, and Natty trying to swoop it round the outside. They're still next to each other. Colonel gets a bit slippery on exit, and now they're going to go through and again into the S's. Not on this occasion, but Natty does hold the inside line. Can Colonel pay back the favour? No, he can't. That's going to allow Wiggly style now up the outside, turns to the inside. Wiggly style now gets back ahead of Colonel Sanders even, coming off the S and down the back straight. Natty there, does he have enough of a gap to be safe? Not really. He's still weaving. What's happened to Natty? What's happened to Natty? Natty's dropped back down to 5th. He's 1.2 seconds behind. Has Natty hit the wall? And it's Wiggly style's in the gravel. So very, not sure what's happened there, but Natty now back down to 5th. Colonel Sanders back up into 3rd. Tiger Assassin will start his last lap of the race. For these guys, they will also get one final lap also. Just double check where Tiger is, and then we'll be just keep an eye on that dot as he comes towards the line. Colonel Sanders now has to pull out all of the stops. This will be the last lap coming up for these guys as well. 30 seconds left on the clock, and this is it then. One last lap to decide who finishes in 3rd position in this race. Wiggly style, after missing out by a 10th last weekend, he will desperately want to get on the podium this weekend. He's all over the back, and now Colonel Sanders going through turn 1 and through turn 2. You would think he's running out of overtaking opportunities. Natty has dropped back a long way now from these guys. Those tyres on the Mercedes really have gone off. So it's between these two now in the battle for the 3rd place. Just keep an eye on Tiger there. We'll swap to him as he gets close to the line, and Wiggly starts going to try and dive it up the inside into the next right-hander. Just can't do it on this occasion as Vines and Dan finishes the last 2 point scorers in this race. It's now Wiggly style. He's running out of chances here realistically to try and get past it through the S's now. So also just keeping an eye on Tiger there as he makes his way around the final corner. About to swap to him soon pretty quickly as he crosses the line. It's now up the main straight they come. Wiggly style committing to the outside line super early there. Going in towards the hairpin. It's going to be... I think it's a bit too far behind. We're going to go back up here though to Tiger Assassin, who after taking the lead of the race earlier on has absolutely not looked back. He's going to win the Lago Maggiore Grand Prix and crush the opposition. The BCR team taking their first spoils of the season 1 here in the NRL. Wolfie is going to make it 2 podiums from 2 races, but this time in 2nd place. Very good drive from the Irishman in the Alfa Romeo. But coming back down here to the immense battle for 3rd, there's still 1 corner left, there's still 1 braking zone left, and we're going to get a drag race to the line. Can Wiggly dive up the inside? He's just a bit too far behind. It's going to be the 2nd time, and the Wiggly's going to go down to the wire. They're going wheel to wheel down the straight. It's going to be less than a 10th once again. Natty's off in the background. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Colonel. Colonel takes it by a 10th of a second. As Natty there is spun round, he's got massive damage, and now Bonnie Evil coming round the final corner. This could actually get kind of close here as Bonnie goes down the straight, but Natty manages to keep it. But for the 2nd time in 2 weeks, Wiggly style missing out on the podium by 1/10. Absolutely amazing driving from all of the people who attended this race, and Tiger takes home the victor spoils back to the UK for BCR Esports. Amazing driving. Maybe we'll get some donuts as well. Hopefully. Yeah, that was an absolutely incredible race, and we'll save the replay up there as well, so we can have a look at what happened between Bonnie and Wiggly style. We'll try and get that on the socials as quickly as possible. But from me, from everybody who works over here at the NRL Matches Racing League, don't forget to drop a subscribe in the Twitch and follow us as well. We're doing the exact same thing next week Sunday. We'll be in Austria. It will be raining, so these drivers will have to test their mettle in the wet weather. But from me, from everyone who works over at the NRL, it's going to be arrivederci, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining everybody, and we'll see you around.